bucket of chicken, have a barrel of fun. Goodbye, ho-hum, say hello to your family. Come on, everyone, get Kentucky Fried Chicken, have a barrel of fun.
Surprise your family with my Kentucky Fried Chicken. There's nothing like it to get folks having fun.
Get Kentucky Fried Chicken, finger-licking good, have a barrel of fun. And have a finger-licking good time, barrel of fun.
And welcome to the Oddity Archive, the show that is a leader in splicing. Yeah, that was pretty bad, wasn't it? Well, as implied, today marks actually only our second ever round of random reel-to-reel audio tapes, the last being about 2.5 years ago now. But I've managed to build up some good ones during that time, so let's get right to it. Now, today's first tape comes to us from that bastion of archivedom, Chicago, Illinois. And I kind of wish I had listened to this tape prior to making the recent Dialing for Dollars episode, because as it turns out, this tape features the hostess of WLS's version of Dialing for Dollars. So what I've got here is the voiceover demo reel of one Ione Rolnick and her Ione's Rent-A-Voice service. Now, aside from voiceovers and Dialing for Dollars, Ione actually has another, at least tangentially, Archivian claim to fame. And that would be she appeared in a couple of movies by exploitation king Herschel Gordon Lewis. And those movies were Suburban Roulette, in which she plays an exceptionally morally loose housewife. Check out the trailer for that one if you can find it. It's a doozy, and she is the star of at least the trailer. And she was also in, and it was just a bit part, in Something Weird, which, of course, the video distributor named itself after years later. But anyway, Ione really seemed to be knocking on fame's door in 1967 and 68. She did the two movies with Herschel Gordon Lewis. She got the Dialing for Dollars gig, and I'd be willing to bet heavily that's right about when this tape dates to. But her performance career, as best as I can gather, seemed to peter out around 1975. This was the year that WLS pulled the plug on the Prize movie, aka Dialing for Dollars, and the trail just kind of goes cold after that, until the 2000s. So I was able to hunt down Ione Rolnick. She is now Ione Citron, married name, and she is a painter, in the artsy sense, of course, in Los Angeles. Now, getting back to the tape one last time here before I, actually play some of it. The back lists all these names here of the good guys, but it seems like kind of a misnomer, because upon listening to this, you get the feeling that she just didn't have much of a track record with regards to voiceovers quite yet, as half the places and products she plugs are fictitious.
My name is Ione Rolnick.
Mary, get hold of yourself.
Oh, Fred, I don't know what's the matter with me. First I bake a cake with detergent instead of flour,
Yes.
and now I drop my lunch.
You know, Mary, you didn't used to be this tense and nervous.
I know, Fred, but what can I do? Take an aspirin?
No, Mary, what you need is a kazoo.
Hello, son.
Hello, Mama.
Benny, what's the trouble? You sound sick or something?
It's just a cold, Mama. A common cold. It's nothing.
What nothing? A cold a person can die from.
Mama.
Listen, look, I tell you what to do, and I don't want any
Mama,
bad
I
talk.
already had chicken soup.
Chicken soup wouldn't help. Chicken soup is for rabies. For a cold, you need a kazoo.
Today's fashion leader comes right out of the 30s in a bonny cape and matching beret, and the complete pattern for this dashing outfit comes right out of Sunday's Chicago Tribune. It's another great Tribune pattern. Step into the fashion spotlight. Get the complete pattern for the bonny cape and beret in Sunday's Tribune.
Is this a Midas Muffler shop?
Yes, ma'am. Can I help you?
Well, now, where do you want the plaque to go?
What plaque, lady?
This BSFETWCOA plaque.
Ma'am, the BSFE...
The Benevolent Society for the Fair and Equal Treatment of Women Car Owners of America.
The Benevolent Society...
Also known as the Don't Try and Pull the Hood Over Our Eyes Club.
You're organized?
Exactly. Today there are more women car owners than ever before. Now, where do you want this plaque?
The plaque?
Look, Besfetwisco has checked you Midas Muffler people out.
Besfetwisco?
BSFETWCOA. And when they have a new muffler put on their car, they want it to be guaranteed for as long as they own the car.
Well, at Midas...
Replaced if necessary for a service charge only.
At Midas...
And they want the installation free and fast.
Well, at Midas...
And they want a watch.
Well, at Midas...
And Midas fulfills the qualifications. Now, where do you want the plaque?
Lady, you got a good organization.
More of today's very exciting episode in just a moment.
Say, boys and girls, have you heard about Amazon Ace's Jungle newspaper?
Yes, now you can read all about the jungle news that's fit to print and a lot that isn't.
For example, on page 1 of this week's Jungle newspaper, you'll find an exciting life-size portrait of the front of Rudyard Kipling's head.
Flip it around and you'll find the back of Rudyard Kipling's head.
Then turn to page 3. This is the news and feature page.
In column 3, you'll find one news story.
And that's all, because the rest of the page is all ads.
Along with page 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. But on page 9, you'll find a life-size portrait of Mrs. Rudyard Kipling. And then flip it over.
And you'll see the whole Kipling family together for the first time.
Amazon Ace's Jungle newspaper.
Now on sale at Jungle newsstands everywhere.
And if you don't know how to whistle, try a call to a very talented girl named Ione Rolnick.
Since we're already doing that commercial thing, I've still got a couple more tapes of radio commercials to get to today, so let's just ride out the concept, shall we? Now, these came from just a teeny bit higher up on the totem pole than the Ione ones, so I'd be willing to bet these got a little more airplay. But let's start with the great disappointment of the lot. Now, I jumped when I first saw this in a lot of random tapes that I fleabaited quite some time ago. But this one came from the Leo Burnett Agency, once again based out of Chicago. But it was recorded in Hollywood at Sunset Highland Studios, which is where a lot of 60s hits and some cult classics were recorded. Frank Zappa did his first few albums there, I think. But if you can read it from here, it says it's for Kellogg's, but it also says Monkees music. Now, if you've watched enough Monkees reruns, or maybe you're even old enough to remember them from the first time around, you probably know that the Monkees TV series was largely sponsored by Kellogg's. And early in their run, they recorded at least a couple jingles for them. So I thought, oh man, maybe I found a near master copy of one of those jingles, second generation at least. And maybe a lost jingle? Nope. What we've got here is a variation of one of the jingles that you hear in one of the Monkees Kellogg's commercials that does not feature the Monkees performing on the musical end of things. In case you didn't get the hint, no Monkees appear here.
It's going to be a rice day, starting with Kellogg's Rice Krispies. Ooh. Ricey bubbles so crisp and golden, ooh. Speak so soft and act so nourishing. It's going to be a rice day, starting with Kellogg's Rice Krispies.
The real winner of the Oddity Archive commercial lottery you've already heard a bit of in today's opening. So that came from this tape, and this is the apparently complete radio ad campaign for Kentucky Fried Chicken from 1974 and apparently spilling into 75. But what we got here are 11 variations on the same jingle, 8 of which are performed in different styles, different genres, and each one more ludicrous than the last. I mean, I get that they were trying to keep things to where radio stations could keep one foot in their respective formats, but you really gotta wonder what the point was of warping a KFC jingle into almost China Grove by the Doobie Brothers was ever gonna accomplish for a rock station. Or KFC, for that matter.
Spend a great day together. We've been having fun, playing and laughing. Come on, everyone. Get a bucket of chicken. Have a barrel of fun. Keep that laughing, smiling, good time feeling coming on. Get a bucket of chicken. Have a barrel of fun. Say hello to your family. Come on, everyone. Get Kentucky Fried Chicken. Have a barrel of fun. A finger licking, good time, barrel of fun. Everybody's home and now we're gonna get them together. We're gonna sit right back and relax for a while. We're gonna get some Kentucky Fried Chicken, 'cause I like to see my family smile. We're gonna get a bucket of chicken. We're gonna have a barrel of fun. Goodbye, ho hum. Come on and say hello to the family. Come on, everyone. Get Kentucky Fried Chicken. Have a barrel of fun. A finger-licking good time. Barrel of fun. A finger-licking good time. A finger-licking good time. A finger-licking good time. Barrel of fun. You've been busy all day. Now it's your turn to play. We wanna get down to something that's nice. So nice. Hey girl, don't start cooking. Just come on and look in my direction for this piece of advice. Get a bucket of chicken. Finger licking good. Have a barrel of fun. And when you get it, it's goodbye, ho hum. Say hello to your family. Come on, everyone. Get Kentucky Fried Chicken. Have a barrel of fun. A finger-licking good time. Barrel of fun. Yeah. Coming home to the family when the day's at an end. Coming home to the family together again. Say goodbye to the routine. Get together for fun. Get a laughing, smiling, good time feeling coming on. Get a bucket of chicken. Have a barrel of fun. Goodbye, ho hum. Say hello to your family. Come on, everyone. Get Kentucky Fried Chicken. Have a barrel of fun.
Surprise your family with my Kentucky Fried Chicken. There's nothing like it to get folks having fun.
Get Kentucky Fried Chicken, finger-licking good. Have a barrel of fun. And have a finger-licking good time. Barrel of fun.
Great. Have to do everything myself. A KFC with 7 convenient locations to serve you and your family. This next unmarked tape is the real head scratcher of this episode. If I had to guess, I would say that this was a work tape, which was used and reused many times, as you will hear, for primarily a radio show. And funnily enough, it's a show that aired in, say it with me, Chicago. This time over public station WFMT. So what we got here is a at least partial episode of a show called The Wandering Folk Song, which aired from 1974 to 85 and was hosted by folk musician / folk music historian George Armstrong. And strangely enough, this tape came from South Carolina. So riddle me that one. But what I heard of the show, I can't say I was too impressed by. To me, it felt a bit against what the literal music of the people was about. You know, it's that really overtly academic kind of thing. True NPR folk. But what the hell do I know?
A children's singing game, sung by Almeda Riddle, Granny Riddle, of Heber Springs, Arkansas. And it introduces this edition of the Wandering Folk Song, which is entitled Back to School Once More, and is dedicated to all those parents who are looking forward to some serenity with the return to school of their offspring. One of the reasons for this attitude, I think, is made very clear in this next song.
I'm gonna tell, I'm gonna tell, I'm gonna holler and I'm gonna yell.
But of course, that's just a small portion of the material on this tape. So amongst the other material, we've got some guitar practice, presumably George Armstrong doing a little practicing. There's some tape delay experiments on here, maybe unintentional ones, and one of which seems to involuntarily involve the Pointer Sisters. And there's a good chunk of a dub of what sounds like an acetate copy of an old radio show, a radio sitcom or drama sort of thing, but it's in a language that I can't identify. It sounds Yiddish, but at other times it almost sounds weirdly Spanish, and then they drop the occasional English word or phrase into there as well. Oh yeah, and there's this probably at least partially unintentional avant-garde noise collage, which involves a certain amount of phone tapping.
Well, what do we got here? What if this is one of those that doesn't make any difference? Well, let's see what we got here. Put it up to 9. Oh boy.
Ojciec, ty jeszcze śpisz? Dawaj, już żeśmy wrócili z pasterkianem szli. Pasterkę przespał, niedługo na niaszczot dzwonić będą. Dawaj, bo cię wodą zleje.
Łyla Boga stara, żebyś ty wiedziała, co mi się śniło, co mi się śniło. Rety.
Czyś ty zgłupią?
No nie przeszkodzaj, bo zapomnę. Wtedy jagiem tak zebrał wszystkie siły, chciałem wstać, a tu mnie ktoś stał za ramię i tarmoci. Łocknąłem się, a przede mną stał policjman i powiadał: Merry Christmas, Mike, go home, you're drunk. I na tym się skończyło.
Co się skończyło?
Also have to. Coming.
Hey, baby, anything happen?
No. Nothing.
Well, I'm going to leave the office. I got some stamps.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I went downstairs and got them from one of the secretaries down there. I've got, they're going to only sell you 10 at a time. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk away and come back and you can sell me 10 more. Well, that worked out all right. I'll be in about 2 points an hour, so. All right, baby. That's all. What kind of spaghetti? Okay, all right, then. Now, how'd you get some 3 or 4 cans of Chef Boyardee?
No. I ain't talking about already made spaghetti.
Huh?
I'm talking about spaghetti. Not
Wait.
Huh?
Wait.
Not already made because I love it. I just don't have enough.
Oh, okay, I'll get some. Yeah, okay. I'll see you later. All right, babe. Bye-bye.
And on to today's main event. And it's a long one, so get comfy, kids. Now, you might remember a now slightly infamous incident which took place late last season, which involved a couple of 8mm films, which I'd picked up at a thrift store back in Colorado.
Oh, dear.
Well, I didn't mention in that episode that on the same day at the same store, I also picked up a baggie of 5 reel-to-reel tapes. And none of them had more than half a tape's worth of material on them, and you've probably noticed that there's only 3 in the bag now. And that's because 2 of them got crushed somehow, somewhere down the line. And no, it was not my doing. They were broken when I bought them. So I had to do a little consolidation. And as I was doing it, since I had to do it in real time, I figured I'd just play it. And I realized pretty quickly that these tapes probably belonged to the same person that owned those now infamous 8mm films. But having said that, there is no pornography here. Sorry to disappoint you. Now, some of the material was just rather poor dubs of classic 60s R&B records. But on one of those dub tapes, I guess he was doing a little radio DXing some night, but he managed to briefly pick up station XERB out of Tijuana, Mexico, which, of course, was the then effective home of Wolfman Jack, who just happened to be on at the moment. And as implied, he proceeded to record it until the signal dropped out, so it only is about a minute and a half worth of material. But he did it right on top of the existing stuff on there. Not that I'm complaining or anything.
To listen to the program, I think it's great because here in Oxnard we are unable to pick up a radio station that plays soul music, baby. See, I'd like you to know that if there's any way I'm able to order records direct, let me know. Ain't no way, baby. Ha! But there just ain't no way. We read one more here. We got a little bit of time. We read one more letter here. This here one from Tustin, California. Tustin. Now open this here one up, baby. Say, the Wolfman has come to L.A. on the Big X. That's what he got written in big red letters. Crazy baby. Look at here what he got. And I say, my girlfriend and I have been listening to you for a long time. And we have Even heard you when you were in San Francisco. We think your show was the most solar in a music program, baby. We'd like to start a Wolfman Jack fan club. All right, baby, that's from John L. Irvin. 15, I better not give out no address. That's from John L. Irvin, baby. And that's from Tustin, California. Ha! What's it? That's just another one of the Wolfman big babies. Gonna get down in the alleys, gonna get right on it now, too. This old lazy luster.
But what led me to my conclusion about the original ownership of these tapes is as follows. First and foremost is the thoroughly haphazard storage method of the material. I mean, this guy had a real talent for taking stuff off of its original reel, be it tape or film, and just putting it onto any handy empty reel, no matter how terrible a condition that reel was in. And indeed, one of those films from last season was actually on the take-up reel that came with the projector. Now, second, the newest material, which makes up the bulk of the tapes, seems to date to the latter half of the 70s, which would make sense because if you remember the most infamous of those films, that thing dated to 1975. And lastly, and please don't bite my head off over this is just an observation, but the target racial demographic lines up with the film, with the music, and we get to hear the man himself many times, and he's a musician himself, and he's black, so yeah, just an observation. But let me try and tell you what I've deduced here. Now, I'm going to call this guy Tom. The name Tom comes up a couple of times, so that may or may not actually be his name, but it's convenient. Now, Tom seemed to be a pretty ambitious guy, and a bit of a ladies' man as well. He didn't sound too old, but he was already married with at least a couple of kids, and you do hear them occasionally. And Tom was also the guitarist slash lead singer slash presumptive main songwriter in an extremely obscure Denver R&B group called the Dirty Dozen. And most amusingly, I don't think there were more than 4 members of the Dirty Dozen. And back on the ladies' man thing, Tom had a real knack for those baby, baby, baby kind of slow jams. But obviously, the Dirty Dozen wasn't getting the bills paid, so he had a day job at the Hostess plant, Hostess Snacks in Northeast Denver, you know, where they used to make the Twinkies. Yeah, the plant is long gone. And it sounds like, understandably, he wanted to move onward and upward from the Hostess plant, even if it meant potentially partaking in some less than upstanding sounding business deals. So I'll let you draw your own conclusions here. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the Ballad of Tom.
Hi, this is Amelia Lawrence. The Northeast Denver Little League will sponsor an April Fool's Dance Saturday, April the 1st from 9 p.m. to 1 p.m. at the Plummer Showcase Lounge. Music will be provided by that well-known dynamic band in the background, the Dirty Dozen. Special guest star will be that well-known Kansas City football star, Mr. Wendell Hayes. The purpose of this dance is to raise funds to finance Northeast Denver baseball teams for uniforms, transportation, and baseball equipment. Tickets are available for $2 per person at Hiller's Barber Shop in the Dahlia Shopping Center, or by calling 344-2014. This has been Amelia Lawrence of the Northeast Seminole League on KDKO.
I have always loved you, ooh, baby, straight from the heart.
And I understand you've had some management background, is that right?
That's right.
Are you still with the Hostess people?
Yes, I'm still with them right now for the time being.
How long have you been with them now, Tom?
Oh, roughly about 6 years.
Okay, and what's your present position with them?
Well, my present position is to manage the operations here in the plant side of the aspect and working with roughly about 150 people.
Oh, very good. How do you feel your future looks there with Hostess? Do you see a good,
Well, like most big corporations, I believe it's about topped out, but perhaps maybe further down the line something might develop.
Okay, let me ask you something rather candidly here. Tom, suppose I could introduce you to a position with a brand new company that's just getting started, and a company that's got a good growth potential ahead of it, where you could fit right into the top management of this thing, and with no more effort than you're putting forth right now, double, maybe triple the income you're earning. Would you be interested in talking about that?
Yes, I sure would.
Great. Let's get together, and I'll let you take a look at us, so to speak, and give me a chance to get better acquainted with you. All right. Well, let me ask you a question. You brought that up, Tom. Would you feel it was a wise thing to invest $2,500 if you could see about a $75,000 return in a matter of 2 years. Would you think that was worthwhile?
How long do I have to get 2,500?
Well, just to answer my question, if I could show you something like that.
This love I have for my woman runs real deep, and that's why you'll find in my heart a real woman's love that will never part. I'll always love you from the heart.
Where you going, baby?
To close things out for today, I want to pull a moment from this tape. And I picked this tape up back on the second episode of Archive Thrifting, back in Colorado. And a good chunk of this tape is of a woman, or sometimes her kid, singing over existing hit records, with varying degrees of success. Now, for obvious YouTube-related reasons, I am not going to be excerpting any of that stuff. But there is one tune on here that I think we'll be okay with. It's a cappella, and it's a lullaby. And it's also a little on the creepy side. If anything, it kind of sounds like one of those last things you hear before you die, kind of internet-y, clickbaity sort of deals. But, you know, I think my audience likes it when I crank up the creep factor, and we are closing in on Halloween pretty fast here, so why not? Seems like a good way to end the episode. Otherwise, that is it for today's archive. Join me next time when I come back as a brand new, soulless, partially flesh-eaten zombie. That is, if the creepypasta crowd has anything to say about it.
Testing. Near a home in a wood with a horse very good, a poor young farmer smiled as he stood, looking down at his plow. In his heart was a glow. Then he sang as he plowed the row. Hi-ho, my little buttercup, we'll dance until the sun comes up. Thus he sang as he plowed, and he smiled as he sang. While the woods and the welkin rang, in the house near the wood where the farmer stood, there lived his helpmate, lovely and good. As she cooked and she stirred, she was glad that she heard, and she echoed every word. Hi-ho, my little buttercup, we'll dance until the sun comes up. Thus she sang as she stirred, and she smiled as she sang, while the woods and the welkin rang.
Just go in and tell the man you want to buy some...
Garbage.
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 Garbage. Kiss me, George.